Welcome to First Universalist Church of Rochester, where we are called to nurture the spirit and serve the community. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Wherever you find yourself on life's journey, we welcome you. We welcome all of you. It is good to be together this morning. If you are here for the first time this morning, we especially welcome you. We have a visitor's form that can be found in the chat. Please click on it and fill out a form so we can offer you a welcome beyond the worship service. This morning, our guest preacher, Reverend Peggy Meeker, is no stranger to the First Universalist Church. The Reverend Peggy Meeker is happily retired after deciding at midlife to go to seminary, being ordained in the sanctuary of the First Universalist Church in 2008, and serving our faith tradition for 11 rich and rewarding years, including 2 here at First Universalist, one as interim director of religious education and one as interim minister. As we gather this morning, we want to invite you to pop into the chat and offer a greeting. You can find this at the top or the bottom of the screen with an icon of a text bubble and the word chat. So please pop in and offer a greeting. It could be a wave of hello or an I'm here, or whatever you prefer. Welcome to worship at First Universalist. Let us join hearts and voices in singing together this morning, recognizing that even as we are singing muted in our own homes, we are creating a song across our city of Rochester, the country, and the world. Let us sing together hymn number 1012, When I Am Frightened.
When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. Will
The Journey by Mary Oliver. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice. Though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations. Through their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough and a wild night and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own. That kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do so. The only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. Come, let us worship together. As we light our chalice at First Universalist Church and in your own homes, will you join me in saying our chalice words in unison? May we be a people of welcome, here to grow in heart and mind and spirit, and may we reach out to serve our community. Please join me in our affirmation of faith, followed by our doxology. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the source and meaning of life. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all. This week, our offering goes to support RAIN, or the Rochester Area Faith Hospitality Network, which has recently been renamed Family Promise of Greater Rochester. This organization works tirelessly to temporarily house and get resources to homeless families. Before COVID, we spent 1 week, 4 times a year, housing homeless families in our church. In the midst of the pandemic, this organization took their care to hotel rooms, feeding folks continually and making sure our homeless families are still provided for. Please click on the link in the chat to give online to First Universalist Church and make sure you indicate it is for our social justice plate offering. You can also feel free to send a check to the church with SJ offering in the memo.
Hello, my name is Karen, and I want to tell you about a weird experience I had the other day. Now, you should know a little bit about me. I like my couch, I like my TV, the snacks are close by. I like life to be predictable, calm, no conflicts, problems, uncertainty. It's just the way I am. What can I say? And if my friend Leanne calls, like she sometimes do, and wants me to go for a walk in the park or something like that, I usually say, no way. That's just too dangerous. Something might happen. You just never know. Well, at least that's the way it used to be. And then one day, I got a call and it really changed everything. I got a call on my cell phone, but it wasn't Leanne. It was someone. The voice said, Karen, this is Adventure, and I'm calling for you. Well, I didn't know anybody named Adventure, and I told her that. You must have the wrong number. And she kept talking about amazing adventures, excitement, maybe even foreign travel. I said, sorry, I'm not interested. And she said, see you soon, and hung up, just like that. I didn't know what to think, but then all of a sudden, the whole room started swirling. It was almost like the combined earthquake, tornado, hurricane, blackout all at once. It was just happening. And I didn't know what to do. And then I woke up and I could feel this fresh breeze on my face. And I was in a boat, an open boat. And there was all these big sweaty guys all around me wearing ripped t-shirts and pulling these big oars. This was crazy. And then there was this voice on the loudspeaker. Listen up, ye bunch of no good deck squabbies. This is your captain speaking. You are on pirate boat lines en route to the island of perfect unpredictability. Please keep your seats and do not stand up until the boat has come to a complete stop at the island. If you do, you'll surely walk the plank. Thank you, and have a pleasant trip. What do you make of that? It seemed like a long time, but eventually the boat arrived at this big green island. Everybody stood up, so did I. And then kind of like all of a sudden appeared right next to me, a woman with long black curly hair. And she said, Karen, it's time to go. I did recognize that voice, Adventure. So I asked, well, how do I get to the island? There's water here. She said, Adventure said, don't worry, it's not very deep. You just step out and walk through the water. Walk through the water? It might be cold. It's probably wet. There might be sea urchins. It could be dangerous. That's why we call it the water of sleeping unknowns. I had no choice. And once I got in, it really did feel kind of nice, but unknown. So I ran as fast as I could. And then I got to the beach and the sand was so hot. Adventure called it the beach of temporary discomfort. And she told me how if I squished my toes in, I could get into the cool sand, and then it wasn't quite so bad. And I walked like that across that hot sand to where Adventure was standing in front of a thick jungle, the jungle of imminent chaos. It really looked like it was for sure full of creepy and scary animals. We had to go through it. And it was full of all those creepy, scary animals, but they paid no attention to me. They didn't want to eat me. It was kind of insulting, really. And then when the jungle ended, there was this broad, really, really tall mountain of extreme difficulty. The only way, Adventure told me, the only way to get past it was to go up over it. Now, I had never climbed anything higher than a, probably, goodness, something with steps and a handrail. But I learned little by little and got the footholds, and so I must say it was a little interesting. But the view from the top, amazing. It was just like a TV documentary. Oh, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. But as you can imagine, after going through the jungle and then climbing this mountain, I was really hot and sweaty. And so when I saw over there a lake, which Adventure said was the lake of endless possibilities, I wanted to go there. And I asked Adventure, how do I get there? It looks wonderful. She said, well, either you go up and down and up and down and up and down a couple more mountains, and eventually you probably get there, or you take, over here is the Rickety Bridge of Uncertainty. When I saw that bridge, it looked like a bunch of toothpicks held together with dental floss. Well, I'll spare you the details of the bridge crossing, but at the end, there was a real surprise. It was the water slide of utter uncontrollability. Without hesitation, I can't believe myself, I just jumped in. And it was those really good water slides that goes around and around and over and around. And finally, at the end, it made this big splash into the lake of endless possibilities. Woo! Went in, I swam under the water, and then I came up, and I was on my couch in my living room, and the TV was on. I was confused, and then the phone rang again. Adventure, is that you? No, it was Leanne. She wanted to know if I wanted to take a walk in the park with her. Maybe it was Leanne and Adventure calling me. Sure, yeah, I'll go to the park. And you never know, maybe someday Adventure will call you too.
Thank you, Karen. Good morning. I invite you into a time of sharing the joys and sorrows of our gathered community. If you wish, you might place a hand over your heart to help you listen from your heart. You are all invited to share joys and sorrows in the chat, and I will read them aloud and drop a pebble into a bowl of water for each one. First, we have a joy from Tess McFarland, Elizabeth McFarland Porter, who bridged at First Universalist and gave her high school senior music recital in our sanctuary 4 years ago, will be singing her college senior vocal recital at 12:15 p.m. next Sunday, April 25th. All are welcome. A joy from Pamela Jacobstein. Our family has joyfully welcomed Yurli, aged 5, from Colombia, South America. She arrived in California with her parents, Mark, my son, and Natalia, also originally from Colombia. Hopefully we will all gather in July, but for now, Zoom is where we greet this smiling, sparkly child. One thing that I saw earlier on the chat, Susan and Mary Kay are grateful to survive an automobile accident this past week. And a sorrow that is lightening. As many of you know, our own Reverend Michelle and her family are recovering from COVID. I spoke with Michelle yesterday, and Mike is home from the hospital. He has to take things slowly, but he's doing well. If you would like to send a card, please contact the Caring Committee at caring@UURoc.org for their mailing address. From Steve Searles, pray for my wife. She's having surgery on Wednesday. From the Caring Committee, that Michael is home and recovering. That's worth 2 stones. A joy from Emma to hear that Reverend Michelle's family is doing better in their battle against COVID, sending them all love and good thoughts. Bill and Heather Jones, concern and joy, grateful that Mary Kay and Susan will be okay after a very bad car accident. From Rachel and Ian, Rachel has had vaccine shot number 1. Ian has had vaccine shot number 2. From Dave Van Arsdale, remembering Dick Fitz, a longtime member many years ago. From Joanna Connolly, concern for Reverend Michelle and her family, especially her husband. From MJ Curry, joy to be getting my second Pfizer vaccine this coming Thursday, and that Moritz Wagner already got his second Moderna vaccine with some side effects. A sorrow from Jacob Santos for what happened at the UU Church of East Aurora outside Buffalo earlier this week. Its Black Lives Matter sign was found vandalized. From Melissa Parrish, joy, my college freshman was home for the weekend to attend a friend's birthday celebration. It has been wonderful to see him back to school later today. From Janice Mary Jones, I had my last vaccine dose yesterday, aches and pains, but very grateful. I will not be at services from mid-May till mid-October, as I will be working at Genesee Country Village. From Lois Baum, joy that my Brooklyn sister Pam is fully vaccinated and getting out and about again, masked. From John Lukes, a joy that Carol has had no noticeable side effects from her second Pfizer vaccination. We drop one final stone to represent all the joys and sorrows left unspoken in the sanctuaries of our hearts. May all be held in the heart of love. We also light a white candle to acknowledge that we are a community affected by the grief, loss, and fear of living through a pandemic. May this candle's flame hold our experiences around this horrific disease, and may its light be a beacon of hope and a reminder that none of us is ever alone. Spirit of life and love, open our hearts. Help us to hear each other and ourselves. Help us to love each other and ourselves. Quiet us as we share a moment of silence. May our thoughts and our prayers bring forth blessings. Amen. Our hymn of contemplation is number 50 from the Gray Hymnal, When Darkness Nears.
The end of day, like a
Ithaca by Constantine Kadafis, a poem about the journey to Ithaca, or your journey, home to the place from which you started. As you set out for Ithaca, hope that the voyage is a long one, full of adventure, full of discovery. Laestrygonians and Cyclops, wild, angry Poseidon, don't be afraid of them. You'll never find things like that on your way as long as you keep your thoughts raised high, as long as a rare excitement stirs your spirit in your body. Laestrygonians, Cyclops, wild Poseidon, you won't encounter them unless you bring them along inside your soul, unless your soul sets them up in front of you. Hope that your journey is a long one. May there be many a summer morning when, with what pleasure and joy, you come into harbors seen for the first time. May you stop at Phoenician trading stations to buy fine things. Mother of pearl and coral, amber and ebony, sensual perfume of every kind, as many sensual perfumes as you can. And may you visit many Egyptian cities to learn and learn again from those who know. Keep Ithaca always in your mind. Arriving there is what you are destined for. But do not hurry the journey at all. Better if it lasts for years, so you are old by the time you reach the island. Wealthy with all you have gained on the way, not expecting Ithaca to make you rich. Ithaca gave you the marvelous journey. Without her, you would not have set out. She has nothing left to give you now. And if you find her poor, Ithaca won't have fooled you. Wise as you will have become, so full of experience, you will have understood by then what these Ithacas mean. When I offered to fill in for Reverend Michelle today, I knew I couldn't write her sermon on the hero's journey. We'll have to save that for another time for her. But my thoughts went back to the summer of 2006, when I was a seminary student and summer minister here at First Universalist. And I did a series of sermons on mythology, including one called The Journey and the Hero. So today I offer you The Hero's Journey Revisited. The term hero's journey was popularized by Joseph Campbell in his book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, published in 1949. Campbell argued that all the myths of the world really contain only one story: how to make the hero's journey and thus, and I quote, come to full human maturity through the conditions of contemporary life. The task is different in Frozen 2 than it is in the Harry Potter books or Homer's Odyssey or Star Wars. And it's different in my life than in yours. Yet at the deepest level, it is the same: to enter the unknown in order to find what we are most hungry for: meaning, new life, connection, healing, wholeness, home. Campbell said that all the heroes and all the stories, slaying dragons and rescuing damsels in distress and pursuing enlightenment, are one hero. And that the steps in the hero's journeys are steps we are all invited to take. I know there are criticisms of his work, that it is too much about the masculine journey or the journey of someone with privilege. There is no one universal story, but we do all undertake the hero's journey in our own lives. I'm not referring to the smaller journeys that we take throughout our lives. For example, I'm on a journey right now to being 70 years old and to being fulfilled in retirement. And that's very different from the journey that I was on in the summer of 2006, when I was first starting on the path toward ministerial credentialing and pastoring and spiritual leadership. Those are both important parts of my story, but they're not the larger journey, the whole story, the hero's journey. That journey is about me, about you, being most fully who you are, confronting the things you need to confront that hinder you, and finding the holy grail that helps you fulfill your life's deepest purpose. Here's an example. A few days ago, I read an opinion piece in the New York Times by a former Marine captain who had served in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. The piece was titled, "I Fought in Afghanistan. I Still Wonder, Was It Worth It?" The author, Timothy Kudo, was responding to President Biden's announcement about withdrawing all our troops from Afghanistan by September 11th. Kudo wrote, "Although I have waited for this moment for a decade, it is impossible to feel relief. The September 11th attacks took place during my senior year of college, and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan that followed consumed the entirety of my adult life. Although history books may mark this as the end of the Afghanistan war, it will never be over for many of my generation who fought." End quote. Kudo's service ended in 2011. He came home eager to resume his life, but found that he could not do so. Today, he continues to hold the memories of all that he witnessed, and he wonders what will become of the Afghan people, and especially of the children who attended the schools that the troops built. It feels wrong to him to forget or to move on. His story isn't over yet. He's working on a book. He is a man on a quest, hungry for meaning. He is on a hero's journey. As Campbell and many others have described it, the journey starts with the departure. In one way or another, you are called to leave your ordinary world and begin an adventure. Maybe it's a call on your cell phone. Queen Elsa in Frozen 2 heard a mysterious voice calling to her. When you hear the call, you may or may not realize that everything is going to change. Sometimes there's the refusal. Odysseus, king of Ithaca, didn't want to leave home and go to war. Queen Elsa just wanted to go about her day, like Karen. Also, at this point, there may be supernatural aid. The hero has committed to the quest, perhaps unconsciously, and so their guide or magical helper appears. Yoda, for example, in Star Wars. Or in the case of Queen Elsa, she simply felt her power growing. I'm not going to name all of Campbell's steps, but the departure continues with the crossing of the first threshold. Here's where you finally leave your everyday world and cross into the field of adventure, a potentially dangerous realm where you don't know the rules or the limits. It's the place of transition from one world to another, or perhaps from one self to another, somewhat like the transition from your student self to your adult self. We've all experienced thresholds in life. Are you thinking about your own journey? The second part of the hero's journey is the initiation. This is the time of tasks and trials, and often the hero fails one or more of them. For Odysseus, it was his journey home to Ithaca, which took 10 years. For Queen Elsa and her fellow adventurers, it was all sorts of spirits and elements. The obstacles in your journey are whatever keeps you from your quest or your treasure, your own particular blind spots or worries or limitations. But you persevere. And at some critical point, you experience an important triumph or gain some treasure or joy or understanding. And Campbell says that this is when you are transformed. This is when you are initiated by that which holds ultimate meaning for you. Maybe you are brought close to death, or you die to self or to your old self. You move from the realm of the temporal into the spiritual and the eternal. You glimpse the unity behind all the divisions in our everyday world, the oneness that connects everything. And thus, we achieve the goal of our quest. It's what we went on the journey to find, although we may not have known that at the outset. It's the Holy Grail, the golden fleece, the elixir of life. Campbell says that all the gods and goddesses and all the various religious stories are to be understood not as the ultimate God, but as embodiments of this elixir, this miraculous energy substance. And this alone, he writes, is the imperishable. The deities who everywhere represent it come and go. This is the miraculous energy of the thunderbolts of Zeus, of Yahweh, and the Supreme Buddha. It is the virtue announced by the bell rung in the Mass at the consecration, and the light of the ultimate illumination of the saints and the sages. Finally, there is part 3, the return. Sometimes there is a refusal to return, just as in the beginning there may have been a refusal of the call. After all, when you are experiencing bliss, why return to your everyday life? Odysseus stayed for 7 years on the island with Calypso, but the hero must return, for the treasure won is a treasure to be used and shared. Sometimes there is the magic flight, when the hero must make an escape with the treasure, as if the gods don't want to share it. Sometimes there is a rescue by someone more powerful who can aid the return. And finally, there is the crossing of the return threshold. And then the hero, you become master of the 2 worlds. As you work out how to retain the insight that you gained, how to integrate it into a normal human life, and how to share it with others. And lastly, there is the freedom to live, because the mastery of the 2 worlds, the inner and outer worlds, leads to freedom from the fear of death, which is freedom to live life. Perhaps you have seen this, perhaps you know it. The journey into the unknown is the journey within. It is the freeing of the stuck place, the slaying of the dragon whose name is hold fast, that part of you that wants to keep doing things the way you always have done because it worked at least somewhat in the past. And it is the return with the gift of wisdom and new life. It is your journey and mine. We must each take our own path and slay our own dragons, but it is the one journey. It's important to realize that the hero need not be perfect. The hero might be partly wrong, partly right, and partly wrong about things. Not only that, the hero might be honored or might be misunderstood. To be a hero doesn't mean you have all the answers or can solve all the world's problems. Together, that's a different story. The hero is simply and wonderfully one who dives down deep within and comes up with something that cracks open their old way of seeing or doing things, something that brings new life. And what I've been noticing this week, looking at all this again after my 15 years of journeying in between, is that wherever we are on our journey, we are not alone. There are helpers everywhere, all along the way, nearby, to bring aid and comfort and strength. And if Kadafis is right in the poem about Ithaca, when he says, Laestrygonians and Cyclops, wild Poseidon, you won't encounter them unless you bring them along inside your soul, unless your soul sets them up in front of you. If that's the case, then the monsters and the magic helpers are all inside us, challenging and guiding us from within. And how do they get there? They come from the rest of us, right? As we offer kindness or meanness to others, that gets internalized. So we are the magic helpers. I wonder if that's what Reverend Michelle had in mind when she chose the opening hymn. When I am frightened, will you reassure me? Will you be strong for me? If you will show me compassion, then I may learn to care as you do. If you will show me commitment, then I may learn to love as you do. Right here among us are the magic helpers that everybody needs. And then I also realized that if we can be helpers for each other's journeys, then we might be in the middle of some trial on our own journey and at the same time be helping in someone else's journey. Doesn't that sound just like life? It's that interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part that we lift up as one of our guiding principles. We are all part of one whole. Are you thinking about your own journey? What is it that calls to you? Don't be afraid to get up and go. It is your own voice that calls you. Or are you in the middle of a quest? Have courage. You will be challenged and you will be helped. Or have you already journeyed and returned? Don't be afraid to claim your gifts and your power. The hero enters the unknown, experiences the mystery, and returns with a blessing. The world needs those blessings, our blessings. Mary Oliver is right, of course, but the only life you can fix is your own. She beautifully portrays the beginning of the journey. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the whole house began to tremble. Yours is a journey that only you can take, that only you are called to take. But in the deepest sense, we are all on the journey together. May it be so. Amen. Our final hymn is number 1020 in the Teal Hymnal, Wo Ya Ya. I invite you to remain muted and sing out joyfully from home or wherever you are this morning, again creating a collective song across Rochester and around the world.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We are going, heaven knows how we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
As we extinguish our flame this morning, let us read together the words printed in your order of service and on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again. Though we cannot be seated next to one another, we are still connected. The As we come to a close, I invite you into an embodied practice of holding hands from a distance. If you are joining us by video, please make sure you're using gallery view rather than speaker view and reach out your hands to the edge of the screen. If you're joining us by phone, place a hand over your heart and bring to mind someone you love from the congregation. Be of good courage and at peace. Love all souls. And may your journey bring you and our world many blessings. Amen. And let the people of the church say, Amen. Forgot that part. Please join in typing these words into the chat. We're on the journey together.
you.